Good morning. For the record, today is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. The time is 11 a.m. This is a meeting of the Public Service Commission of the District of Columbia being held in the Commission hearing room located at 1325 G Street Northwest, Suite 800. I'm Emil C. Thompson, Chairman of the Public Service Commission. Seated to my right is Commissioner Richard Beverly, and to my left is Commissioner Ted Trabue. Pursuant to the Open Meeting Act, the Commission scheduled this meeting to consider formal case matters that require Commission action. The proposed agenda for this meeting was posted on Monday, April 7th, 2025. A recording of today's open meeting will be available on the Commission's website after the meeting concludes. Commissioners Beverly and Trabue, are you prepared to vote and adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor of adopting the agenda, please indicate by stating yes.
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 And I vote yes. The agenda is adopted. Today, there are 4 consensus matters. One moment, please. Thank you. Today, there are 4 consensus and 1 non-consensus matters before the Commission. The consensus matters are in formal case number 1130, Medsys Investigation, NGD 2020-02-M Pilot Projects Governance Board. This order directs PEPCO to release $175,625 from the Medsys Pilot Project Fund subaccount to Eco Energy within 15 days from the date of this order. Number 2, formal case number 1154, Washington Gas Project Pipes 2 Plan. This order grants in part and denies in part the District of Columbia's government's motion for leave to issue discovery and comments on Washington Gas's updated annual project list. Number 3, formal case number 1155, PEPCO's Transportation Electrification Program and Electric Tariff 2022-06, PEPCO's Plug-in Vehicle Tariff. This notice of final tariff approves PEPCO's rider plug-in vehicle tariff effective upon publication of the notice in the DC Register. And number 4, WGIA 2025-01, Washington Gas's request for an independent accountant. This order grants Washington Gas's request for approval of an independent accountant to conduct a limited engagement review. All in favor of approving the recommended orders and notice, please indicate by stating yes.
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 And I vote yes. The orders and notice are approved. The non-consensus matter is formal case number 1154 and 1179, Washington Gas Project Pipes 2 Plan and Pipe Replacement Plan. This order denies the Sierra Club and District of Columbia government's joint application for reconsideration of order number 22367. Commissioner Beverly, how do you vote?
No.
Yes.
I vote yes. The order is approved. The next regular open meeting will be held on April 21st, 2025 at 1 p.m. The proposed agenda will be posted at least 48 hours before the announced meeting. Pursuant to merger commitment number 51, informal case 1119, PEPCO is required to annually offer to appear publicly before the Commission to review and provide documentation concerning PEPCO's reliability, safety, and customer service performance, and to answer questions about PEPCO's performance in the District of Columbia. This has become known as the PEPCO State of the Company. The Commission will now hear from PEPCO on the state of the company. Thank you.
Okay. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Name's Tyler Anthony, as you guys,
Mr. Anthony, can you pull the microphone a little bit closer?
Okay.
Make sure it's,
let's do that. Is that better?
there we go. Yes. Thank you.
Chairman Thompson, Commissioner Trabue, Commissioner Beverly, I appreciate the commission's time today to come and address the commission today about the performance of the electric utility here in the District of Columbia. I'm joined by my colleagues, and we plan to go through an agenda and then obviously be open for questions from each of you as to our performance and areas that we can be more supportive and make sure our priorities are aligned with you. What I thought I would do today on the agenda, we go to the next slide. On the agenda, what we're going to do is I'm going to start with my comments are going to be directed in three areas. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history and where we are currently with our performance of the utility. And then I'm going to address the commission on the focus areas and concerns that I have going forward. And then I'll close with a topic to highlight one of the extensive projects that we essentially completed here at the end of the year that the commission is familiar with our capital grid investment. Then what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Rodney to go over a little deeper dive on affordability as well as our customer focus. And then Valencia is going to cover the PEPCO update with community and some of the other areas that I believe the commission will find of importance. Now, me personally, Chairman and Commissioners, I've passed my 9th year now here at PEPCO.
Congratulations.
And it's been an honor, thank you. It's been an honor to serve the residents of the District of Columbia. And it caused me a chance as I prepared for my comments today to reflect on the journey we've been on together with the commission and stakeholders here in the district. Not too long ago, back in 2012, PEPCO was not only nominated the worst utility in the country, we were nominated worst company in the United States by the Washington Post. I arrived in 2016. We were 24th out of 27th in reliability, and we had our customer satisfaction numbers were well deep into the 4th quartile. And what I'm pleased to report to the commission today, as far as our recent performance, we accepted the awards in 2024 for Business of the Year by the DC Chamber. We were nominated Best Places to Work by Latino Magazine, and by the National EEI Standard for Reliability, we're now 3rd in the country amongst all utilities. Based on that, I believe we've established a level of trust with the commission and our customers. And at this point, I'm very proud also to say we've done that with the workforce that's 54% diverse here in the District of Columbia. Our small business, our focus on our local universities, UDC, Howard, and others, we like to think that we show up and have impact as one of the largest employers in the area. My colleagues will cover some additional details around that. When you go to the next slide, shifting from background, I'd like to address the commission about what my focus areas are as we continue on. And I'd start that by stating that I've been in the industry well over 30 years, and I've seen more change in the last 10 years than the grid has had in the last 100. And I firmly believe the next 5 years, we're going to double that amount of change that we've seen in the past 100. This slide that I have reflected up kind of provides at least a diagram of what we're facing as it pertains to energy security in our country. And the three areas that I'll comment on that kind of summarize what you see on the slide is the fact that energy security is a headline. I get very involved with the major data centers and growth as it pertains to national security and the challenges that's putting on our supply of energy for the district. As the commission knows, we import all of our power here in the District of Columbia from other states, which makes us very susceptible to price and capacity increases that we've seen based on the demand for energy. Secondly, one of the areas I know the commission has asked me about in the past is right now with the federal government decisions and the recent layoffs and separation, the full effects of which we're starting to experience, those compounding impacts of that and what has happened with the economy as it pertains to the growth of costs in all the different areas, not just in electricity. It weighs heavy on me. And what are we doing our part as the electric provider to be sincere and be there for our customers and let them know that we care based on the world that's going on around us? And then my third area of focus, I didn't mean to embellish our performance, but I'll use an anecdote. It was about a month ago. We lost our first network center in several years out in DuPont Circle. We had 4 major hotels that were out of power. Myself and Tamla Olivier, our COO, we went out and talked to each of the general managers of those hotels. Now, we haven't lost a network center. Back in 2016, when I joined the company, we had lost 4 network centers in 4 months, and we haven't lost one in several years until recently. And the reason I bring that outage up is it reminded me of the importance of the system and the reliability, the importance of our area and what we do here in the nation's capital, and the importance of that reliability. And this third area about balancing the needs of investments to maintain the system based on whether it's aged infrastructure, size, new business, et cetera. It provides us with that balancing question of about where are needed investments in the infrastructure and how do we maintain that affordability for our customers. So when I think about affordability, and Rodney's going to go a little deeper in this, we've created a pretty integrated strategy around affordability that has 4 key areas in it. First area that we focus on has to deal with supply. I know several of you have been involved in different national committees and discussions about the situation as power generation in our state. But although we are agnostic to power generation, we do provide a voice and a role in that. Most recently, in meetings with the governors of local states here, and the instilling of legislation to instill more power plant production in our areas. In my conversations with the PJM's CEO and what market reforms we're trying to do based on the way these capacity and supply auctions have come to fruition. The next auction we'll see here in June of this year and the impacts that has to our customers' bills. We feel we have a voice and a role to play, and I'll use the first of 4 of the strategy to talk about what we're doing to help drive supply costs down. One of the areas that I often point to in the district as a national leading program is our Solar for All program here, how we use that in order to support low income and different people in need as it helps to pertain to their electric bills. But I'll call it, that first one, I'll call it supply. And then second is our internal costs. I'm pleased to report to the commission, we continue, our operating and maintenance expenses continues to be way below the national average of inflation. We've been averaging about 1.5% increase in our O&M cost year over year. Recently, we're struggling to maintain that, but I'll call this second area is a commission. What am I doing with innovation? What am I doing with AI? And how do I continue to lower our costs for our customers? And third is the customers themselves, whether it's our demand response programs, what we're working with the commission on our home energy audits, energy efficiency. The third area is what are we doing to inform customers as an example before the summer, and what are we trying to do to help them play an active role in their energy, whether it's notifications about how much energy they've used in a particular given day, how does it line up with their previous bills, and how are we communicating with them so they can help manage their electric costs. And then last, has a lot to do with our relationship with the commission. I'll call it the regulatory and legislative process. Rodney and myself, we've spoken to over 19 federal congressmen and senators about the need for generation and what federal policies around different regulation we can do in order to help, whether it's the creation of more broader solar programs, whether it's battery storage, different innovative actions that, whether it's federally or locally, we can take, and it could be locally here in rate structures. And what are we doing for LIHEAP? I'll give you the most recent meetings we had around that. Has to do with the federal government made a decision to to dismantle the LIHEAP organization, and we're asking ourselves, what can we do around that, and how do we enable those dollars to continue to get to the people that need them? But I'll call the fourth and final area has to deal with all about our regulatory legislative relationships and how we're driving different policies and different laws in order to support our customers in any way we can. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. And in summary, I just wanted to say, been an honor to serve the District of Columbia the past 9 years. I take my role very seriously, and how we balance these challenges going forward. We'll continue to engage the commission for advice and counsel as we go forward. And I would just say, the commission has been appropriately challenging and demanding of us, and it's helped to get us better. And I thank you for that partnership. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Before you begin, Mr. Doyle, I want to give my colleagues the opportunity if they have any questions to ask them before we go to the next presenter.
I do have one question, and it's general because I know you didn't come here to be interrogated on specific questions in a meeting like this. But with regard to interconnection, this has been an issue that's come up from time to time, and I've mentioned this to you before. I know we've talked about it. I had meant to follow up with you, but hadn't had a chance. But if you could just briefly explain what your progress has been on interconnection matters and what progress you expect to make.
Yeah, I think interconnection is a good topic, Commissioner. And when we first had the programs in the district for solar, how we integrate those solar platforms into our current system. Frankly, in the beginning, Commissioner, and as you pointed out in our private conversations, we struggled where when people, for example, in the Solar for All program, when people subscribe and they move, and how we do the billing, essentially it was somewhat of a very manual process. How we maintain that and the bills. We'll call that the after installed side. And then on the front side, the expectations around how we reach out to customers within a certain period of days, how we get them their approvals, and what does that look like. Fast forward from the beginning days, I'm pleased to report that we've gotten much better. Some of the things that we put in place, like I've personally met with different solar providers for direct feedback and advice about their interactions with us and how we can help those major developers be more successful. We've given the major developers each single points of contacts and relationship managers. We've restructured the organization as a data point from the 3 utilities that I'm responsible for. This past 2024, we got 13,000 applications. About 70% of those applications will transition into solar, and will transition to actual installed. So I would say, it continues to be a journey. I continue to stay personally involved when someone has a complaint about timing. I would say our next focus area has to do with the larger installations and the relaying and different work that needs to happen to integrate them into the system. But I think we're well on our way. We understand the importance of it. And based on the price of power that I talked about, Commissioner, I think those applications are going to get even greater. We'll definitely look to keep you abreast post this meeting as well to the development of the rest of those actions.
And if I could add on, you actually took part of my presentation, so I'm going to add on to what Tyler said. So as he referenced, what we found is that a lot of the challenges were with the handoffs. And so there were multiple departments that were involved with the process, but they were falling under different teams. So we created, as Tyler said, a unified department. We call it our Green Power Connection 2.0, where it's now a centralized solar concentration team. So the billing, our engineering, the support team all falls under one department. The other thing is he referenced the relationship manager. So as we look across the board, and for those developers that have a large portfolio, they're assigned a relationship manager. So now you have someone that literally has eyes on every step of the process. So as challenges, concerns, issues come up, they're readily able to address them. And then our other developers then have a specialist that's working with them as well to kind of walk them through the process. And another added enhancement that we did, and this was all kind of feedback coming from the commission, we created a digital welcome kit. So for your customers that are having rooftop solar, their only interaction throughout the interconnection process is with the developer, not with the utility. So if they're having challenges, we're unaware of it. But now with the welcome kit, so as a customer signs on with the developer, we immediately send out a digital welcome kit that is coming from the utility, and it outlines all the expectations that's required of the customer throughout the process. So now it's connecting them with Pepco prior to the end of the process. Now they're connected to us at the beginning. And we're already seeing some improvements. We're seeing positive feedback, as Tyler mentioned, coming from our developers and customers. We still have a ways to go, but at least we're able to institute new customer enhancements.
Thank you for the question. Okay.
Okay, let me, Mr. Tyler, I'm sorry, Mr. Anthony, President Anthony, thank you very much for being here. It's good to see you, as always. Maybe it's a small question, but you mentioned the outage recently that you had where these 4 hotels suffered an outage. And this was, I think, as you mentioned, kind of a surprise to you guys because you hadn't seen something like this in a number of years. What was the duration of the outage? Did you understand the causation? And then did you take a review of some of your other network facilities to make sure that we're in good shape moving forward?
Yeah, great question about what did we learn and why did it happen? I physically, several of us were out there and actually went into manholes to take a look at what occurred because we had a substantial fire that occurred in one of the manholes. And what we've done with what we've done with our stakeholders is we implemented, I had mentioned to you when I first got here, we had 4 events in a matter of months. We implemented a manhole inspection program that was pretty advanced. And some of the main things that you'll look at in a manhole inspection is you have your large cables and you have these other items in the manhole called secondaries. Secondaries go into the different properties from the main cables. And our manholes, many of them share a secondary with a primary cable. What occurred in this event was the secondary cables, they're designed over time, and if overloaded and they fail, they're actually designed, Commissioner, to burn free. They're designed to burn free and then cause the outage. What occurred is in this one particular manhole, we had secondary mains that were aged, and those secondary mains they burned clear per design, but they caused damage to the primary cables just below it. In our manhole inspection program, one of the things we look for is the secondary mains separated enough from the primary that there would be no ancillary damage if in fact it failed. And in this case, although the damage was extensive, so it's hard to visually see exactly what happened, but our belief is in that particular manhole, and some of these vibrate with the street and others, but that secondary was laying on the primary cable that caused it to burn through and then cause a catastrophic event in the manhole when the first primary cable failed, failing 5 other cables in the manhole. And to your second question, we restored all those customers in about 48 hours. And in parallel, what we did is we brought a group of generators out to get, in many cases, some of those hotels back in less than 12 hours. But it does remind me about the importance of those manhole inspections. So what we're doing now is we're looking at all of our different inspection criteria. Did we miss something? What was actually done in this manhole? We did an area sweep of the 300 manholes around it to see if there was anything else that we missed. But clearly something occurred that allowed that secondary to lay on top of that primary cable. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I just have one question for you, President Anthony. You talked about affordability and the different components of affordability. And one of the things you talked about was working on the cost of supply and the work that you've done with talking to various legislatures, talking with the CEO of PJM about capacity price reform. There's another component of that supply portion of the bill that's also been increasing, that gets less attention. That's the transmission side. And I'm curious as to what those conversations look like, where we can, you know, what conversations have been had on that side about what we can do to mitigate some of those rising transmission costs and look at what we can do to, use grid enhancing technologies, other things of that nature to really reduce the cost of new build.
I think that's a great question, because I think if you look at the projections, and this is subjective as well as what I know about the PJMQ, our country needs, and even this area needs, a great amount of further transmission built.
Mhm.
And to your question, there's a couple pieces of that. Is one, am I getting everything out of my existing lines that I can? I think you've alluded to that. And I'll tell you another one that was an interesting learning for me, is these data centers are continuing to put more pressure on the transmission system, as we discussed. But I was in a conversation with the head of Dell Energy, their energy division at Dell. And what he said to me is, just like on your computer, it has a board that, I don't know if you're familiar, like when you go to a low battery, it can go down to 17% and let your battery last longer. But what my conversation is with him is, could there be a future where the data centers are integrated into the grid? So on those peak days, can you take that data center and dial it down in power for those peak days, so that maybe you don't have to build that next transmission line? So those data centers know there might be 10 days a year where that particular data center has to go to somewhat half-speed operation. A little bit out of my realm, my technical background, but it was interesting to say, does the data centers provide, do they need to be an active member of the grid and we help influence that load? So I think that's an opportunity. I also think, the opportunity for, when I'll give you the example of my last slide, we'll go to Capital Grid. A Capital Grid slide I have here, Chairman, is when you do aged infrastructure. So it's, for example, in Capital Grid, where we had assets that were 100 years old, we took the opportunity not just to upgrade the asset, but while we were there, upgrade the capacity of the asset, because the essentially cost difference is, I don't want to say it's minuscule, but for an extra 20% cost, can you double the size of the load based on taking the opportunity while you have aged infrastructure? So I think your question's a good one. I think it's a challenge we're facing, and I think the future of more out of current assets, when you build an aged asset, let's get it increased. And how do we limit the impacts of the new additions to the new additions to the grid, Chairman?
Thank you. Mr. Doye.
Thank you. And again, good morning, Commissioner Thompson, Chair Thompson, excuse me, Commissioner Beverly, and Commissioner Trabue. Always welcome the opportunity to come before this bench and really talk about our partnership, not just with this commission, but with the community at large. The questions that have been asked so far, I think, are really good segue point into my portion of the presentation. My focus will really be around affordability. It all comes together on the bill, and customers obviously feel that pressure. Slide 7, if we could go to slide 7, please, that would be beneficial. And so a lot of the conversation to this point has been around the impacts on the bill, and this slide really attempts to really showcase what we see as all the different variables. Obviously, extreme weather conditions. We're seeing more significant weather now than we've seen in the past 100 years, and the impacts to the grid have been significant. The advantage of being a part of Pepco Holdings, and with Pepco being part of that family of companies, is that we can share best practices across the fleet. Tyler and I were in New Jersey actually on Monday with that Public Service Commission, talking about similar issues. The issues are similar, but they're different in certain instances. And so taking into account weather and the impacts of weather on the grid, increasing energy costs, we're seeing that as an opportunity, and we want to really lean into that space as well too. But as Tyler mentioned, the vital upgrades that are necessary to the grid to ensure that it's resilient, that it remains reliable. I think the DuPont Circle event is a clear reminder about the reasons for continued investments in the grid to maintain reliability. And then also, Commissioner Treby, your question around interconnection, building a grid that is capable of interconnection, making sure that we can get DER connected to our grid in a timely manner, really in alignment with the district's priorities. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well too. This past winter, I think we saw one of the coldest winters we've had. We had multiple days that were really freezing temperatures, and customers felt that in their usage directly, because there's a direct correlation there. And then we're moving into summer. I think it's no secret that the capacity, the BGS auctions really are clearing at really high prices, and those prices will be felt by our customers really on the peak periods of the year. And so what are we doing to allay those costs or partner with the regulators to manage that? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well too. We recognize that we provide an essential service. I mean, energy has become really critical in this time with just heavy dependence on it, and then the security considerations with that. We remain really committed to working with this Public Service Commission to address the issues, and we'll touch a little bit on that on the next slide. So could pivot right there. That would be good. So Tyler mentioned our affordability strategy framework, and he noted the 3 buckets. I want to just lean into that a little bit more. Valencia will take it home and bring it directly to DC. But we see this work really in terms of how we will get there in 3 main areas: the mitigate, communicate, and then how we monitor and measure. So when we think about the mitigation strategy, this is really how we're influencing policy, whether it be on the regulatory side or the legislative side. As you all know, we operate utilities in multiple jurisdictions, very actively engaged in Maryland. The General Assembly just concluded on Monday there with some legislation that we were engaged in. Here in the District of Columbia, obviously our partnerships with the Commission. I want to acknowledge you, Chair, for your leadership at OPSI. That's really critical when it comes to just the PJM states and having a coordinated voice on the matter, and how we've been able to also support that work from our seat. But then also managing our distribution costs. I think the question around investment in transmission, you could ask the same thing on the distribution side. If not D, then T. If not T, then where else? And so obviously any opportunity we can get to have non-wires alternatives where it makes sense and where we can work with the Commission on that could be of a benefit to customers in the long run. Really happy to also note the work we're doing directly with this Commission on the residential aid discount program. I think the last time we were here over a year ago, I mentioned the ALICE population, ALICE standing for Asset Limited Income Constrained but Employed. I believe our team made the report available to all of you. But ALICE essentially are the customers that are above that limited income threshold, those that are one paycheck away from disaster. And if you look at our arrearage numbers, a lot of the customers in the district are in that group. The reality is there are quite a few safety nets for those that are limited income by definition, but those that are slightly above it don't get the same provision. So working with this Commission to expand the residential aid discount program, and then when you couple that with the Solar for All program, how can we really then lean into that? And then also, Tyler mentioned.
Chairman, may I
Yeah, sorry,
ask a question of the speaker, just because you're on this point of arrearages and
Yeah.
The population. If I read the last report correctly, I saw arrearages in the district among your residential customers roughly at about 20% of your customers. Was I reading that correctly?
Yeah, so I'll give you actually, this is real timely, a breakdown of just arrearages in the district for residential customers.
Okay.
Really hot off the press.
And I wanted to know, is the district an aberration? Is this, you guys operate in about 8 states? Is this pretty typical? Just
I think
understanding where we are.
No, I think
and I'm sure you're using similar strategies in other states to
Yeah.
manage those arrearages.
Yeah, we are, and it's an alignment. I would actually say there are probably more sophisticated programs in the District of Columbia to really support vulnerable customers as compared to what we see in some of our other jurisdictions. The residential aid discount program, I think, is front leading with that. We don't have that dynamic or that offering in the PHI, some of the other PHI jurisdictions, it tends to be more like light heat focused, as an example, right? And so the rate design we have here in the district and how it supports, I think is front leaning. But just to your question directly around arrearage, just to give you some context, and this is as of this last night. So from a delinquency perspective, if you think about customers that are within 31 days to 60 days, the count is about 28% of our residential population.
And that's inclusive of all customers, not just your low-income customers.
Yes, that's all residential.
28%.
About 28%. Now, if I'll go to the extreme side, I don't want to run through all of it, but 151 plus days in the arrears, your percentage is about 40%. Right? And so what that's telling you is that you've got quite a few people that are deeper in the hole in the district as well, right? And so it's a nuance here, but the arrearage issue, and this is consistent across our jurisdiction. So the numbers I'm sharing here are not, this is not an anomaly when it comes to this, I guess is my point.
Let me make sure I'm understanding. So you're saying 28% of all customers are more than 30 days.
About over 30 days.
And then 40% of that 28% is,
It comes out to about, of the 300 plus thousand customers, about 32,000 are greater than the 151
days.
Essentially about 8%, 9% are great. The ones I worry about,
Mhm.
those greater than 151 days, and their average balance is about $600.
Yeah.
So these are people that are struggling to pay their bill.
Yeah.
When I see it 4 months and.
and
then try to
they're
go
not
back up.
eligible for any of these programs that you just described.
So some
Well,
are.
some may
Some
be,
are.
but
Yeah,
many,
some are.
many might not be.
Many of them might not be, because what we're seeing, Commissioner Treby, and this is across the country, and we've done some work even with the United Ways, Rosie Allen Herring National Capital Area, where we've partnered directly with that organization, is that the safety net programs in the country in general were targeted for people that by definition were below the federal poverty line at a certain level, the limited income customers. What you're seeing is that there is a group right above that group that need the same services, but the safety nets are not there. And what happens is that as you graduate along the income curve, you fall off what they call the benefits cliff. So you go from getting safety, the safety net programs, to no longer having them, but your pay hasn't really increased significantly. And that's the opportunity for rate design and some additional programming to support those customers.
And this is clearly before the cost of SOS
Exactly.
is going to go up,
Exactly.
in the summer months.
Yep. Those are all, it'll be all additive, right? When you think about what we're going to see this summer with capacity prices, how that will manifest on customer bills and the like. And so we're hyper-focused, Commissioner Treby, on not just communicating, but also trying to connect district residents to additional resources. And actually, the second tower of the priority, the Communicate Tower, is where we're doing that. We've partnered with DOEE, DCSCU. We just entered into a partnership with the DC Library System. We held an event at the MLK Library just to connect customers directly to more resources. And then also, I mentioned the United Way National Capital Region. People call the United Way directly, and so we're in partnership with them as well to ensure that we're directly tying customers to resources. That by itself won't address the issue, though, because these are macro issues when you think about the lack of energy, in terms of generation, and then the price of the commodity itself. Okay. One item I wanted to really mention, though, that is huge, and Valencia will touch on it, is we're piloting some things on our website where it's like a single stop. You can go to the website, you put your address or your zip code in, and it automatically pulls what you're eligible for. I think when we were here the last time, we mentioned about the friction in the system. And we see this in our other jurisdictions. It's very hard for customers who might be eligible for, let's say, TANF and other assistance to also subscribe to LIHEAP And what you have is categorical eligibility in other jurisdictions where it's a one-stop shop. So if you're eligible for one, you're eligible for all. The risk with that is you can easily run out of the resources, and we saw that in Maryland last summer with the categorical eligibility. So working on that here in the district as well too. Final point, appreciate the nuances here in the district around the budget, and Tyler mentioned the federal kind of the layoffs and what we're seeing with the Health and Human Services. So we are scheduling, in the process of scheduling job fairs in partnership with the local universities. I think our first one will be early May to try, and we're doing so in partnership with other businesses to try to connect, again, people directly to resources and jobs in a period where there is retraction of opportunities. I'll pause here to see if there are any questions with everything I covered. I try to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time before I give it back to.
I just have one question with regard to arrearages.
Yes.
So if you have people you have 28% that are in arrears, but I was wondering, obviously if somebody is $600 in arrear for 6 months, there may be a payment problem. But for people that are in arrears for 30 days and catch it up on the next payment, I don't know that means they're having a payment problem or a money problem. They just may have a, diligence problem.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
do you separate
We do.
between that? Because it doesn't sound to me like
We do.
that's automatically, all right, okay.
Yeah, no, agreed. And Tyler, actually, we just talked about it this morning. 31 days over 60 days over doesn't necessarily mean there's a big issue there. The great thing is that we rolled out very specific payment arrangement plans, extended payment arrangements. We treat each customer on the merits of that customer. I think our call center process and our customer processes are very tailored to the individual. And so it's not a blanket process in terms of each individual, each customer gets the same treatment. Our agents are trained to work exclusively with the customers based on the customer's situation. And Valencia can talk a little bit about the specifics of our programs, but to your point, it's not, everyone doesn't express or face the issue the same way, regardless of the payment, the arrearage number, excuse me. All right.
Just a few quick comments and questions. So I know we certainly raised the eligibility for the RAD and the RES program, and then during COVID, and then we kept on a permanent basis. So we've certainly taken steps there. I guess one of my questions is, the people, I think you said roughly 8% of the consumer base, that's 151 days and longer. How much, if you had this data, how much of that are we seeing as legacy from COVID, or any, are those residual effects? Are these new 151? Do you guys have that data on hand? If not, I can get it later, but I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I don't have the number here, but you want to, I don't want to give you the wrong number. So we'll circle back on that. My gut is, and this is just based on what I see in the other jurisdictions, I think there are customers generally across our PHI footprint that were never able to completely dig out of the hole that they found themselves in as part of the pandemic. Some obviously were able to do so, but I think there's quite a bit that still were never able to get out of that. But we'll get the actual number for you.
And then my second question, and you kind of tease it on a few different slides, on slides 7 and 8, but when we really talk about affordability, a lot of times it comes down to customer usage and customers understanding their usage patterns and the costs associated. We rolled out these things called smart meters. They're supposed to unlock all these capabilities where customers would be able to have greater granularity into their usage. Where are you guys with allowing that information to be customer accessed? I know some of your other footprints maybe have more access to this information, but where are we? Is there, what needs to be done by the commission, if any information you have on that?
Okay, no, that's a great question in terms of the capabilities available to customers based on the smart technology that's on the grid. And I think this continues to be an opportunity, but we've taken really great strides. Even if you consider like our bill redesign, the elements on the bill and how you can really look to see what your usage is and where you might have an opportunity. I think those are advancements we've made. I will say that we probably have an opportunity on the energy efficiency side because that ties. It's a portfolio of programs, in my opinion. So the technology is one thing, but the programs that support the technology, I think, are another thing too. So where we have an opportunity, in my opinion, is in the energy efficiency side, how to kind of better tie that in, and so that customers can really integrate their home use with the appliances and the thermostat and all of that to be able to kind of make their decisions based on that. So we have the technology, but I don't think we have all the pieces tied together. And I see the energy efficiency portfolio as really an opportunity to fully unlock the technology and really make available to customers
Yeah,
all we can.
Oh, and also to add on to it too, one of the things we've been in conversations with DCSEU as well to see how can we really kind of fast forward some of the energy efficiency programs. But one thing that when we saw customers really having challenging times during the extreme winter, we were more intentional about promoting our My Account. So if customers sign up for My Account, you actually can see your hourly, daily, weekly usage. So, and you can also enter in to tell it, hey, if I'm going over $200 with my electric bill, flag me. So it will send a notification. It also provides a lot of great information on how customers can actually save on their energy bill. So that was something that we've had it for a while. We were just more intentional about ensuring that customers were aware of all of the benefits that come with My Account. And that's a great tool for our customers.
Yeah.
And from an
That is, as we go into these summer months, we're looking at higher prices. That will be particularly useful. Maybe it'll encourage people to use their air conditioner a little bit less or something like that. But
And the timing of even when you wash versus using the dishwasher, how, encouraging people, if you have a fireplace, how you can do a covering of your fireplace. So it's just a lot of great information. One of the things that we also did is we really had a big media push. So we had our executives, different spokespersons from the company out ensuring that we're in front of the media. Rodney mentioned with our energy resource fairs, so we're sharing that type of information with our customers as well. But now that we're coming off of winter, you're right, we're gearing up now for that June 1. So what we also found a lesson learned is let's start earlier with preparing customers as we go through these seasonal changes as well.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add, we do see an opportunity, Chair and Commissioners, with especially our vulnerable customers, the offerings we have on our website to educate customers to make smarter choices are great. But in a lot of different situations, customers don't have the time to be able to take those actions. And so there's an opportunity to make it easier for customers to conserve. And that's really where the energy efficiency piece comes in, because I think there's data available today, but there's friction in the process, and there are quite a few barriers, especially for the vulnerable customers who just don't have the time. I mean, some customers are going from job to job, right? And so checking to see what appliances are running and where the efficiency may not be opportune for them. So we're working through that to support those customers. Valencia, you want to take us home? I know we've answered a lot of the questions in the process, but.
Yeah, so part of my presentation's already been covered, but again, thank you so much for allowing us to be here this morning. What I want to touch on actually, and this is really extending the conversation that we're just coming off of with affordability, when Rodney had mentioned during the extreme winter months, we enhanced some of our offerings. And so part of it was 4 items that we really focused on, and that was extending our regular 12-month payment plan to 24 months. And we did see a lot of customers taking advantage of that. We also waived our late payment fee. We waived a reconnection fee, and we paused physical disconnections. And that was really from February up until a week ago that we had those items in place. And then, as I talked about a little earlier, we were very intentional with educating our customers on the offerings that we have year long. So whether that's signing up for My Account, budget billing, we saw a number of customers actually sign up in the district just within a 2-month period. We had 2,000 customers to sign up for budget billing because that definitely helps, obviously, with seeing the seasonal spikes. And at least now they know every month they have that consistent payment that they're paying. So it wasn't such the shock that some customers were experiencing. And then we also instituted what's called a financial finder tool that Rodney touched on. So this is an opportunity for customers to log onto our website, be able to enter their information, and then immediately it notifies them of here are the various financial plans that you can sign up for. What we found is that a lot of times customers are, whether it just might be pride or what have you, they don't always want to call and ask for that information. So we found that this finder tool, financial finder tool, is much more accessible for customers just to be able to go on, navigate, and streamline that process. So we'll continue. Go ahead.
So President McClure, I think you said a moment ago that you had paused the disconnections through the end of last month,
Right, exactly.
which means they are active now.
Yes, exactly.
So what triggers the disconnection process? Is it a customer is X amount of days in arrears? Is it X amount of dollars in arrears? Is it a combination of the two? Is it?
It's really, it starts with the days. So when you are 30 days past, when you're past due, you receive a notification just alerting you that you're past due. And as you move through the next 30 days, you receive what's called a dunning notice. And so the dunning, once you receive the dunning notice, then you have 15 days post that notice before you have a disconnect. Now, we always encourage customers to call. So even at the point of when you receive the notification saying that you're past due, if you're struggling or have challenges, if you call at that time, then that's when we'll walk you through the various options that you have, so we don't get to a place of where you receive the dunning notice.
Is a customer eligible to sign up for your extended payment arrangements when they are already 60 days behind?
Yes, they are. What tends to happen, and what we, during that February, March timeframe, we.
And does that help them then avoid disconnection?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so basically what happens, so when you sign up for budget billing, what we ask is, okay, place a deposit. So usually you're required to place a balance. And then from there, we take your remaining balance and then spread that out, whether it's the payment plan, you spread it out over 2 years versus 1 year. Or in order to get on budget billing, you are required to place a certain amount of deposit then to be able to go onto budget billing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Next slide, please.
But you're, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's after your 60 days in arrears that you start to get these dunning notices?
That's correct.
And so what percentage of your residential customers may have received dunning notices now that disconnections are in effect?
Right. So right now, our latest count, we had roughly about 17% of our customers were past the 60-day notice. And literally as of today, April 8th, is when we actually started sending out the dunning notices. And so, so that kind of takes us from probably have almost maybe 50,000 customers that are 60 plus days in the arrears. And so, and we always tell people, you know, it's easier to call us and work through options, you know, as you know, and that's something we share with all of our stakeholders to communicate that message even to our customers versus being disconnected. And then we're trying to work out various options at that time.
So you're saying about 50,000 customers are going to receive these notices tomorrow?
Not tomorrow. It goes over right. It's a cycle.
Okay.
Right. Because every customer is on, you have them on
A
different
cycle.
cycles. Right.
But
Exactly.
over maybe the course of the next 30 days.
Exactly. Right. In the event, now some of those customers though may call in. So sometimes customers might miss the first notification. So you have an email note. That's why too, we encourage customers to sign up for My Account, because My Account, you receive those notifications, whether it's a text or email. So it makes it easier versus if it comes in the mail. So it's just so much better. It's an opportunity for us to have that two-way communication when customers sign up for my account.
So I understand you had paused disconnections through the end of last month. That pause started when?
The pause started early February, right as we started seeing the extreme weather.
Oh,
And that the
all right, so
bill-
it's only about,
Right, exactly.
Little
So
over a
that's
month.
2 months. And just to kind of put it in context, typically during the winter, we don't pause disconnections. We only pause a disconnection in the winter if we hit the extreme temperatures. So let's say if it's, which we saw this winter, but normally if we have a 28-degree weather, if someone was already signed up to be disconnected, if they were already in the system, we would not disconnect that customer on an extreme weather day. But this winter, because we were seeing the extended extreme weather days, we paused all disconnects and sending out dunning notices as well.
Just about what can we do? What can we do to help?
And being mindful of the concern I think you're trying to drill at is
Mhm.
if someone is already behind, are they getting further behind as well too? So we kind of try to balance all of that as well too.
understood, yeah.
Okay, all right. So on this slide, really moving into, so I have the opportunity to talk about our reliability improvements, our community impact, and customer enhancements. So on this side, again, proud to be able to serve the DC area for over 125 years. And you'll notice on the right-hand side of the slide, it really talks about what we like to say is that we're more than energy. So keeping the lights on is what we do day in, day out, but we want to make sure that we're having a true impact in the community. And that's where they're showing equity when it comes to our customers, our community, and our small businesses. So what you'll see is in 2024, and this is kind of, again, extending on the conversation that we've had when it comes to affordability, we were able to assist our customers with accessing over $23 million in financial assistance. And that's through LAHEAP, RAD, AMP, and the various programs that we're able to offer our customers. As it relates to our community engagement, we contributed more than $2.2 million in financial assistance to various nonprofits throughout the DC area. So that might be organizations such as the Capital Food Bank, Martha's Table, the ARC, Urban League, which we're a proud sponsor of the Urban League because they too are one of our partners that provides energy assistance to our customers as well. And then, of course, all of the chambers throughout the district area that we support. In addition to our financial giving, we also give of our time. So our employees contributed more than 11,000 hours of volunteer service to various organizations throughout the DC area. And the beauty of obviously not only just giving of their time, but we have a program called Dollars for Doers. So as our employees volunteer, we also then support them from a financial perspective that goes directly to the organization as well. So it's kind of like a twofold contribution that we give. And then we're proud to say, Tyler had touched on this, so when it comes to our SAIFI and SAIDI, with the frequency of outages and the duration of outages, we're coming off of a best on record. So very proud to say that since 2015 up until now, when it comes to the outage duration, we have improved by more than 61% since 2015. And then when it comes to the frequency of outage, we have improved by more than 70% since 2015. So again, best on record for the company, which we're very proud of. We always, our focus is that everything that we do is all about improving our reliability, resilience, and capacity. And you heard Tyler speak to that when he talked about the Capital Grid project as well. We're proud because this is really, when we talk about our reliability, it's a direct reflection of seeing the benefits of us investing back into our system and into the grid as well. So then as we move to the next slide, please. So as we talk about coming off of a best of record when it comes to reliability and even with our community impact, we were proud last year to receive Business of the Year by the DC Chamber. This was the first time in Pepco's history that we have received it. And it's, when we take a step back, Tyler kind of mentioned this, in 2012, we were really rated as one of the worst companies across the country. So to now see the improvements that we've made from a reliability standpoint, showing up as a good business partner within the district, our fiscal responsibility to then be able to receive the Business of the Year from the DC Chamber was a proud moment, not only for the leaders that you see in the picture, but throughout our entire company to see how we have made strides over the past 10 years. We continue to have our involvement with our HBCUs. We've come before you before to really talk about our involvement and commitment when it comes to Howard and also UDC. We do that in a number of ways through scholarships, mentoring programs. We have our takeover days. I know we had the opportunity for Chairman Thompson and Commissioner Trabue to come out when we did the takeover day at Howard. We continue to see how can we really expand the offerings that we're doing with our HBCUs, whether that's workforce development, implementing curriculum at their schools, having the opportunity for the students to come on site and be able to spend time with our executives in addition to scholarships as well. And another program, as we talk about really having equity when it comes to small business, we're proud of the work that we're doing with our Community Impact Capital Fund. This was a fund that Exelon created in 2021. This was post-COVID, of how can we really have more of an impact when it comes to our small businesses, especially those that have been challenged with receiving capital investments or loans. So this fund was created specifically to be able to support the historically disenfranchised businesses. To date, since the creation of the fund, Pepco has been able to contribute over $5 million to 5 DC local businesses within the district. That's Gemini Energy Systems, CJR Development Partners, Capital Global Health Ventures, Public Sector Solutions Group, and SingCare. And so those funds, that's anywhere from $200,000 to $2 million equity investment or small loans that we've been able to contribute to those small businesses. And that continues. So this is a fund that continues to live on. In addition, and this is most recently that we're really proud of, is we were able to, as we take a look, when we talk about our community impact that we do throughout the district, we always take a step back to be able to analyze and review where our giving is going, and perhaps are there areas in the district that we are not, the level of commitment isn't where we would like for it to be. And so when we did that review, we noticed that in Ward 7, we had the opportunity to really create more partnerships. So in working with the individual stakeholders within our Benning Service Center area, we realized that one of the needs that they had is that there was a lack of fresh, affordable, and healthy food in that area. So we created what we called our Pepco Small Energizing Business Grant. And just recently, last month, we contributed over $600,000 to 8 small businesses within the Ward 7 area, that Benning service area, to be able to bring health, affordable, fresh food to the ward. So we're very excited to see how those funds, they will use them for capital investments, staffing, to be able to scale their business, equipment that's needed to be able to service that area.
Now, have any of these companies started to actually deliver services, or this is an investment and you're hoping that maybe at some point later this year or down the road, they will be able to provide, augment services in the city, in the ward?
Yeah, so most of the businesses were already delivering services, but what we found is that perhaps there was one business that had a delivery truck, but they were only able to go to a certain part of Ward 7 through the grant. And these were grants at $70,000 to $75,000 per business that they received. So now they're able to expand their territory. Another business was located in Ward 8. Now they're able to expand their business to Ward 7. So they were already doing business, but these dollars help to expand their footprint or they were in need of different type of equipment that enabled them to kind of scale up what they were currently doing. And our plan is that, so this was literally March that we actually granted the dollars. So our plan obviously is we will continue to stay closely connected to those businesses and be able to monitor in the next year, 6 months, the next year on how they continue to grow.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
I'm
And
sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm just interrupting
No, they're good questions.
without asking for your.
Great questions. And in addition to the businesses that we granted the $600,000, we also did a $300,000 commitment to nonprofits that were in the area. So that was the Cesar Chavez School. We built a STEM lab in their library, which was very excited to see the children interacting with the STEM. This is all about continuing on with building STEM opportunities. The Boys and Girls Club, Marshall Heights Community Association. So there were nonprofits that also received funding as well. And then, of course, our workforce development, that continues to be a top priority for us as a company. You've heard us talk about DCIA before. In addition to what we do in our trade school kind of realm, we also have, we're a third-year sponsor of the Walter Reed Infrastructure Academy, which is founded by African-American CEO. This academy focuses on cybersecurity. So for individuals that perhaps already have a career, but they're looking for a career change, perfect opportunity for them to really be able to receive a certification in cybersecurity and then either work with us or one of their partners. So we have actually hired 8 full-time employees from the Walter Reed Infrastructure Academy and just kicked off our 3rd cohort. And I'll talk a little bit about one of our other key programs as well. But as we focus on trade, adult infrastructure academies, we also start at that high school level as well with our STEM academies that we conduct throughout our territory. Next slide, please. And so kind of piggybacking on a little bit on the workforce development, I do want to highlight, and I'm not sure if you might remember this one individual, Autumn Gray. She came before the commission during our multi-year rate planning public meetings. She's an individual, it's a great success story. She went through DCIA, single mother from Ward 8. She's a native Washingtonian. And prior to going through DCIA, she was a loan officer for 5 years, but she worked on commission, had no benefits. She went through our DCIA program, graduated successfully. We hired her full-time on with Pepco. After being with our company, she decided she wanted to go one step further. And so she enrolled in our system operator boot camp that we have at UDC. This is an opportunity for individuals to gain certification for opportunities to work in our operations control center. She successfully graduated from that program, now making over 6 figures. One of our most engaged employees, and obviously we love to have her tell her story every time there's an opportunity, but now going from a commission-only job to full-time 6-figure job with benefits and just a wonderful support system around her. But that just speaks to the volume of what our workforce development programs actually provide to our employees. And even if they don't work with Pepco, it's an opportunity for them to go to work for other companies. Next slide, please. And so this slide, this was actually one of my proud slides, but Commissioner Beverly had asked the question early on, but this goes back to your question on the solar interconnections. And so we always like to say that we hear from you. We take the feedback that you give us, the challenges that you provide to us. And what we did with that is, as I mentioned earlier, we put into place what we call our Green Power Team 2.0. So we had to take that step back and to say, okay, what can we do with the concerns and issues that we hear from our customers, our developers around our solar interconnection? And that is where we created a centralized solar organization, bringing together, as I mentioned, our engineers. We automated the billing process. That was one of the other concerns that we were hearing from our customers as well, and created this brand new organization. It was really just kind of pulling it's not so much that it was new positions, it was just moving organizations under one realm. And then again, added in the elements, as I mentioned earlier, the relationship manager, the relationship specialist, the digital welcome kit that now goes out to customers, and then along with our new bill redesign as well to educate customers on the portion of what is the distribution portion of a bill, supply portion of a bill, and then the various surcharges. And we have received positive feedback from that as well. So we always try to make sure that we're instituting something new that's going to help with that customer journey, not only the customer journey, but then also with our developers that we work with as well. And so as I round out my conversation, again, we are very committed to the district. We appreciate the partnership that we have with the commission, always open to the feedback that you bring to us. And we always want to make sure that we're being a good business partner throughout the district, as well as what we give back to our customers in the community as well. So this time I'd like to turn it back to Tyler, who's going to round it out with a great video.
We have a short video we wanted to show of the Capitol Grid. Do we have time for that, Chairman?
That's fine.
Okay, very good.
Mm.
Chairman, we get excited about videos like that at Pepco. But I'll close with my closing comments again is to say thank you for your time today. I don't know if you have final questions. Probably should check. Final questions? Okay. Just wanted to say on behalf of my colleagues and all the employees at Pepco, we thank you for your partnership. We appreciate the relationship. We look forward to the challenges ahead and working with you on the items that we've all covered. And it's been a great run and an honor. So thank you.
Well, I would also like to say thank you on behalf of my colleagues for coming today. I know it's a merger commitment, but we certainly appreciate the conversation and having this dialogue with you. So thank you, and we look forward to it next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
There being nothing further, this open meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.